case of a white woman who was denied admission to the University of Texas. Her lawyers claim African American and Latino students were admitted with lower scores than hers. The case could produce new limits on affirmative action at universities or roll it back entirely.
And what you were listening to is the case of Abigail Fisher. Right. She's a young woman alleging that she was denied admission because she is white, resulting in the acceptance of minority students with fewer credentials. The Supreme Court did not issue a sweeping ruling limiting affirmative action in college admission. Instead, the case was sent back to the appeals court for reevaluation, where it has now made its way back for a second time. And this is a great place, John, for us to bring in a roundtable.
Please welcome to the roundtable talk show host and political commentator Lisa Durden, also joining us, attorney and political strategist Chelsi Henry. Let's talk about this, ladies. What do you think here? We'll start with you, Lisa. This issue of affirmative action, do you think it is still necessary in the United States in 2015?
Absolutely. And let me correct people. The biggest beneficiaries of affirmative action is white women. And don't go by me, do your research. So unfortunately for this young lady, Miss Fisher, she could not cut the mustard. She would have been admitted if she was in the top 10% of her class. So instead of her crying over spilled milk and crying because she didn't get accepted, she should have stepped her game up and gotten her grades better. So she didn't get accepted in her college of her choice, then go to a college. Unfortunately, black people in America were not allowed legally to get an education. So how dare anybody try to compare the two when we were not able to get an education for 400 years and beyond. So excuse me if I'm not crying because this young white girl didn't get in the college of her choice. Go to the next school. Move on.
Yeah, well, that's almost kind of my point here, and we'll get Chelsi's take on this, because it's almost as if she has perverted the idea of affirmative action to benefit her. When you made the case, though, Lisa, and Chelsi, what's your take here? Her grades just simply weren't good enough to get into the University of Texas at Austin.
That's the truth. Her grades were not good enough. And as research was done, and it's been said out there were 47 other students who had worse grades than her. And out of those that were accepted, 42 of them were white. And so the issue that Ms. Fisher brings up, I think that, she's crying out. She's crying out, but the cry that she's making is one that's unnecessary at this time. We need to continue to find ways to ensure that there's equal educational opportunities for all people, especially people of color, because when you look at the statistics, there are educational gaps, and we have a responsibility as America, as the greatest nation on the planet, to fix those gaps. And so to take away opportunities where race happens to be one of the criteria that schools look at, that's just one of many things of criteria that schools look at. So to single out race in this particular case, I do find that an issue that we need to address.
Yeah. So Chelsi, let me ask you,
well, there
Lisa
is racism here.
Hold on just a second. Lisa said that she believes that affirmative action is still necessary. Chelsi, do you agree with that?
I think that there's been several recent events over the past 18 months that show that racism still is an issue here in America. And so affirmative action has been a way that we have addressed that. Are there other things that we need to continue to do within our communities? Absolutely. But we must start with where we are, and to take away affirmative action at this exact time, I'm not sure would be the best course of action. But again, we'll find out next session with the Supreme Court what they decide.
Now, I think all reasonable people here can agree that there do need to be, equal access for people of all races, all genders, whatever, for higher education in this country. But there are some folks on the right, and we'll point to an article from the Daily Caller, that think there are issues with affirmative action, and they write this article almost giddy, as if to say that they think affirmative action could die here. And they look back at the history of the Supreme Court. Sandra Day O'Connor has been replaced by more conservative Justice Samuel Alito, and while current swing court Justice Anthony Kennedy was a dissenter to that decision, the original one back in the 1980s involving direct racial affirmative action, saying it was likely unconstitutional, the court's liberal wing will have an even harder time defending affirmative action, as Justice Elena Kagan will have to recuse herself in this case due to her prior involvement as when she was with President Obama as his Solicitor General. Do you think the structure of the court here, Lisa, in this case, could doom affirmative action?
Well, they better be very careful starting that fight, because once they start that fight, white women are going to come out in droves and fight for affirmative action because they have been the biggest beneficiaries. So they're going to play a very dangerous game and disenfranchise their own white women. And let's be very clear, even though affirmative action is in place, we have not by far been treated equally, even with it in place. We've still been tokenized. So I don't want to hear that since it's been in place, we are all singing Kumbaya and we've all gotten equal access to education and other things. So that little white girl better calm down and apply for another school and get her ass in another school. Bottom line. And by the way,
Lisa, let's just say her bottom, all right? It's a family program here. I appreciate your excitement and energy, but we're trying to keep it PG here on Newsmax Now.
We're running out of time, but Chelsea, I want to get your reaction.
Thank you.
All right, we're running out of time, but Chelsea, we want to get your reaction. We're going to talk more about this issue coming up as Newsmax, our roundtable will continue after this break. Hopefully we can calm down a little bit so we can keep it PG.
I like the fire.
We do. We like the passion.
We're also going to talk, guys, about this.
Guys.
No, we like it, Lisa. Bring it. We're also going to talk when we come back about this mad teen mob at a Walmart, Georgia here. What does this say about the state of youth in America? We'll be right back after this. And we welcome you back for part 2 of our roundtable. Talk show host and political commentator Lisa Durden joining us from New York, and attorney and political strategist Chelsi Henry Skyping in from Tallahassee.
Okay, I want to go back to what we were talking about, which was affirmative action. Right. We were talking about this girl that was saying she was rejected from a college on the basis that she was
UT
white.
Austin.
Right.
Hook 'em horns, right?
That's right. So Chelsea, I want to ask you though, do you think there'll ever be a time where we don't need affirmative action?
I would hope that we get to that place, but I think that we have to be realistic of where we are today in society. Yes, as African Americans, we have made some progress, but again, when you look at the educational statistics, especially with those in primary school, there's still gaps. And so we need to address those issues so that as students begin to progress throughout their educational career, they have the knowledge and the background to be able to be successful. And so again, right now where we are, I think there still is opportunity for growth. There's opportunity for improvement. And so the way that affirmative action is set up in many states, it is just one of the many criteria that can assist a student in being selected to a school in a small pool of people at that. And so I think it's unfortunate that the plaintiff in this case brought this to the court system, is making news with this because the numbers behind it, the fact that she was given the opportunity to go to a satellite location really makes me question what she sees America as. She was given opportunity. It was not her choice, her first choice, but she still was given opportunity. And I think that we need to be more concerned about the lesson that this is sending people, that if you don't get your way, if your dream doesn't come true, you should just file a lawsuit.
Right. She could have always gone to a community college and worked in.
What Ms. Fisher should have done was sue the United States of America for racism. Her forefathers is the reason why we have affirmative action. So sue the United States of America for having slavery
Lisa, let's be clear.
Racism.
We don't know anything about her ancestors. So let's leave that conversation here. But we appreciate your fire as always.
When racism ends, that's when it'll end. When racism ends, that's when affirmative action will end.
All right.
Okay.
Well, we all hope that day will soon come, or come eventually. Let's turn our attention, guys, to this recent incident in Macon, Georgia, where a mob of teens ransacked a local Walmart. You can see the surveillance video right here. Yeah. Also, the smoking gun has the arrest report for Karen Green, who was seen in this surveillance video. A Walmart employee interviewed by cops said that he spoke with Green in the store's parking lot, and the teen stated, quote, that this was a planned event and they wanted to see just how much damage they could cause. So, Lisa, kids in America, they are angry right now. Is this a sign of this, or is it a sign that we've lost control of this generation?
I think it's a sign of both. I don't like seeing that. I really hate seeing it when it's black people. You know, when I was growing up, whenever we heard about some kind of crime happening, we would go, oh, Lord, I hope it ain't black people on TV. So I still feel that at this point. So I'm annoyed by that, and I don't subscribe to that, and I don't agree with that. So I do feel in this case we need to get some kind of control. I do feel it's both things going on, but I still have to bring it back to racism. Although I'm not trying to make an excuse, but if we didn't have those kinds of things like the Confederate flag and the killings in South Carolina, and Walmart having all these Confederate kinds of products, then maybe it wouldn't have happened. Not that it wouldn't have, but maybe it wouldn't have. So once again, a lot of this racial tension is causing a lot of these issues, and we have to get a handle on it. And I would just like to say Ed Gordon did a really good town hall meeting, I think yesterday in Chicago, to address black folks' issues in the community doing. Well,
let's let Chelsi weigh in, because we don't have all the time in the world here, Lisa. Let's let Chelsi weigh in. So my question for you, Chelsi, is where are the parents here?
That's a great question.
that's a
And
good
to
point.
the point that Lisa was saying, yes, there are racial tensions that's going on, but at the same juncture, we cannot make an excuse for bad behavior. And so this is a call for us as African Americans, for us more importantly as Americans, to stand up and to really be a village that raised children. Because when you look at the economic statistics there in Macon, Georgia, the median household income is about $23,000. 30% of their individuals are living under poverty, with 43% of that being under the age of 18. And as we know, Mr. Green is 17 years old. So when we look at this incident and the fact that it was planned, I think that it goes more than just the fact that they're African Americans. This goes to the heart of the issues when we look at economic disparities and how they affect people's behavior. And so when you look at poverty, one of the themes that I see was present when I grew up in a low-income neighborhood was that there was hopelessness. And so clearly, if these students, these kids took time to plan this, there's issues. But what's more important is that if we tap into them, if we as a community get around them, should they be punished for their actions? Absolutely. But if we get around them, it's not too late for them to be amazing, contributing citizens of America. And so we need to focus on what's the solution so that this is not something that becomes an outcry or widespread here in America.
Now, let's hope that happens.
And we need to teach them the right way how to deal with their anger. And we need to teach them the right way how to deal with their anger, not the wrong way to deal with your anger. It's displaced.
Right, it is displaced. And we see this sometimes. It happened before. It happened in Florida, and also the Baltimore riot started as some sort of protest at a shopping mall in that area. But we want to thank you both very much for joining us. A very enlightening discussion here on this issue. And we talk about race so much. That's certainly part of this here. But also we look at the socioeconomic disparity in this country. Also something else we need to address. We'll have more angry mobs at Walmart.
Chelsea, Lisa, thank you both for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Happy 4th of July.
It was a good talk.
When we come right back, we'll take a look at the hashtag trending today, Cuba.